Hi, folks. Welcome back. We are GrownAGeeks, and today we're going to be talking about Hulu's Paradise, starring Sterling K. Brown and a cast of other characters. Join us as we talk about Paradise on Hulu. And we're back. Hey, Paradise. We're going to be talking about Paradise. We are GrownAGeeks. Joining me tonight to talk about this television show that you can catch on Hulu. I've got RG Cashmere, Lost in Paradise. Brandy, insert cool nickname. We've got Teresa with us. And joining me as always, Jeffrey, JPNT17. How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Good.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, who started watching Paradise? Who did I hear talking about it first? I think it was Brandy and Jeff, or was it Brandy and Teresa?
Brandy was first.
I think it was Brandy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brandy, once again, ma'am, thank you so much. I enjoyed the hell out of this show, and I probably wouldn't have watched it. I don't go to Hulu like I should be going to Hulu. We got Hulu Premium without ads, and I need to start paying a little bit more attention to the stuff that Hulu got because they got some stuff. And I need to like flip through that roster and watch some of this other stuff. I got a whole queue of stuff now because I'm just sitting here watching Paradise episode, and we're gonna talk about it. This was a perfect show for me. Plenty of like twists and turns and a lot of intrigue, and it had some really cool stuff happening. Great cast of characters, and overall enjoyable show. So let's do this. Let's go around the room. Let's first talk about, of course, the things that we liked about the show. After we discuss the highlights and some of the good parts, we can get into maybe some things that we didn't care about so much, some things that maybe they could have done a little bit better. And then finally, if there was things that we maybe would have changed, or could there be a season 2? What would we want out of a season 2? Sound good?
Sure.
All right. So, Brandy, I'm going to let you start this one off because this was your pick, your selection, your show. So, talk to us about Paradise. What did you like most about Paradise? What were some of the highlights for you?
What I like most about Paradise is Sterling K. Brown. He is just everything. He's so good. He does so much with just these little nuances, little ticks in his face. He's just so good. Um and he pulls you in from the very first time the show starts. You are automatically in and locked in with this character because you want to know more about him. You want to know what's going on, and why did he react that way to the book, and like what. Um, I like the cast. I like James Marsden. He never ceases to. I like his versatility a lot. He can play so many different it never gets stale, like some people are just handsome and they kind of rest on handsome, and I feel like he brings something different to every role he plays, and I appreciate him. I think he did such a good job in this, and just got more and more interesting. Like when you meet him, you kind of pigeonhole him, and then there's depths that were revealed, and I really appreciated that. I like not Shakespeare, Sinatra.
Sinatra.
I liked her, and I really liked. This is what I liked.
Yeah.
I really liked the partner, his friend, the one that was really close to him with the kids.
Billy.
I forget it. Billy.
Yeah. Agent Billy.
I really liked
Agent
him,
Williams.
and I really really liked his story. Um, and I like that his story touched me more than anything else in the show. I will say that. Like as far as twists go, that twist was impeccable. And that little girl, she's another one. Amazing. She did such a good job of being on the surface and then below. I like the fact that everybody you meet has levels to them. Nobody
Yeah,
is exactly what they seem. You don't know who to trust. Everybody is kind of moving in different, even the kids, like nothing is as
Mhm.
it seems. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the world they built literally
literally.
because that
Okay.
reveal was like, oh,
Hmm.
okay. Now I'm more drawn in because now I'm like, what are we doing here? What is happening? You know what I mean? The story I thought was interesting. I liked it. The for the most, I like the show. I am not a person that sticks with shows, and the fact that I watched all eight of those episodes says a lot. So
Yeah, and that was kind of what I was saying. Like, I find I have a hard time when I start a series. A lot of times, I have a hard time finishing that series unless it is very good. Because I'll get, if there were 8 episodes, I'll get to episode 7 and then say to myself, okay, I'm gonna finish the next episode tomorrow. I need to get some sleep. And it'll be 2 months before I finish that last episode. It'll be one
yeah.
episode left, and I'm just like, eh. And if
Mm.
you can't draw me in and make me sit and watch and watch and watch, I feel like there's something lacking. And it could even be something I enjoy. But this was one, and I think I did the last 3 episodes, boom, boom, boom. Like I just sat there and just watched and did like next, okay, next. And this was very entertaining. And everything that you pointed out were some of the highlights for me as well. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what everyone else had. We're gonna have Jeff come back with us here in just a moment. He's got something he's got to take care of, so he'll be right back. But RG, did you get a chance to finish this show?
I actually did finish it. I did
Talk to
finish
me.
it. And thank you, Brandy. Thank you for the recommendation. Because I saw none of the promotion. I knew nothing about it. Like you said, I'll be on Hulu for Rick and Morty. So if it's not immediately in the front, I'm not gonna see it. So I'm glad I watched this. The premise was immediately a big hook. It was a fantastic hook. They did a really good job with the show as a whodunit. And the way they set it up that way initially, as a whodunit alone, was enough to kind of keep me, had me intrigued and keep me interested in the show because I want to know who murdered the president, right? And one thing they did a really good job at is giving that hook and making it very clear what we think this show is going to be about, right? In the first episode, they did a very good job of that. So that's one thing that definitely like kept me wanting to know what happened. They continued, like I said, they made it a whodunit first. It's a whodunit first, and then it's sort of a holy cow, possible weird disaster, post-apocalyptic, you know, you
Yeah,
know,
definitely some
TV type
2012
show.
type. Like what was the movie 2012? The day the world ended. Stuff. Yeah,
Right, you know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of ways to go with this. Um, but the whodunit aspect of the show is the thing that definitely kept me intrigued because every episode revealed a little bit more information, and it still wasn't enough. Like as much as I can theorize and go, I think it's this person, or I think this person is involved, or I know this person's shady, they still didn't reveal enough to prove it. And it was still very natural. The characters still behaved very natural. That's another thing I loved about the show is that it's just great character development. Um, it's a gift and a curse. It's fantastic character development. There's really no one. Well, no, there is maybe one I don't like, but most of the characters I really like. They are very well written. They are very. I'm not necessarily saying relatable, but just understandable characters. I
yeah,
understood what were each of their motivations and why each of them did what they did and how they moved the way they moved, and it just felt natural in me in this environment. So they did a very good job with that. The fact that it's just a black man holding this down, like Sterling K is the right person for this job. Like he played his role perfectly. Like he played it perfectly. So that's another big hook for the show. You know what I'm saying? That I definitely like. And
Okay, well that's
it's the whole premise of the show was just
okay. Yeah, the story and the concept and like why we're finding ourselves in these particular events and how these situations even come about. Very unique, and I can't think of too many movies that have truly explored that kind of concept. I mean, it's taken all the elements of things I like from, say, Fallout, for example, and presenting them in a very realistic concept that's I won't say doable, hopefully, but it's in a way that it seems,
It's already done.
realistic, right?
they act more natural than they do in the game.
Right, like you know what I'm saying. Like these feel less fantasy, and it seems like something that I can actually understand because it's not a video game concept. Like these seem like real people, real doctors, real scientists, and everything seems practical. And it's because of that there is an element of realism that makes it a little bit more believable, for lack of a better phrase. Teresa, what were your thoughts? What were some of the things you liked about Hulu's Paradise?
Well, my Facebook friends, my Facebook timeline was just filled with people talking about Paradise. And it wasn't originally on my radar, but when I saw so many people comment about it, I'm off it, even though there are probably 100 series out there that I haven't finished, like you said, Sam.
Right.
I have been known to watch up until like the last episode and never watch the last episode. So there's other stuff out there that I could finish. I decided I wanted to start something new, and I posted on Facebook like, okay, how is this Paradise? People keep talking about it, and everybody was like, oh my God, you'll be hooked on the first episode. And so and that was actually right before Brandy came on, and Brandy's like, oh, have y'all watched Paradise? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it.
Right. Oh well, shit. If Brandy likes it, we got it.
Right, if
Gotta
Brandy
watch it. That is like, and I'm telling you, it's high. It is high praise for a show. If Brandy says, like, "Have you seen?" If she says,
So
"Have you
I
seen?"
put
with
it-
a smile, like, okay, add to queue.
I had it on my iPad. I set my iPad up right next to me while I'm working. So I got it's on my iPad, and I'm supposed to be working. And half the time I end up like, what now? So what? Who? Needless to say, I wasn't getting very much work done, but that didn't stop me from watching the whole thing. I had gotten to literally the last scene. I had to stop it for something that I hadn't seen. The very last scene, I just watched it. I enjoyed it immensely. That's my kind of thing. Post-apocalyptic, dystopian, and the twists. And I mean, every episode had at least one twist. So I was absolutely in my element. Sterling K. Brown is amazing. I'm not really familiar with him as far as TV goes. A lot of the TV series that he's been in that people talk about him being so good in, I don't know because, I don't watch that kind of stuff. But, from Black Panther, that movie was it Jeffrey Wright, where he's the brother. I think that's his name. The one where he's the writer.
Not Stranger Than Fiction. What is that movie?
American
Yeah,
Fiction.
Tracy
American
Ellis.
Fiction, yeah.
Yeah.
He was amazing in that one. Hilarious.
Mhm.
And so, and he's not hard on the eyes. So I gave it a shot, and it's just my kind of thing. It was so good. The end of every show, I'm like, what the hell? Who are you? Where did you come from? And I just thought it was really good. I love, like Brandy said, I think Brandy said it. I loved Billy, his story, and I
Yeah,
was so upset, even though I knew it was coming.
I did too.
Yeah, I was so upset
I was. I was so bad.
because he was so he was so believable when he was telling Sterling's character how he is his family now, and those kids, he loves those kids like they're his own.
Mhm.
And then I was like, Billy ain't gonna make it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. They telegraphed that a little hard.
I got
yeah,
my girl back home. I got to get to my girl back home.
I was waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah.
When it
I
dropped,
retire in a week.
There you
Exactly.
go. Goddamn.
so it dropped, and that was terrible. But I don't think it was.
I'm with y'all.
I mean, I just thought it was good. And Sam, you're talking about how you figured out most of the twists and stuff. I think they kind of
They shoehorned him. I mean, it was like
the
right there.
biggest twist. I think the biggest reveal or whatever. I don't think I ever could have figured that out. But when they flashed back and they showed his origins or whatever, and the first
Yeah.
time we actually saw him in the show, I was like, this
Yeah.
is pretty freaking genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I'm
And
glad
it's-
that crazy little girl didn't hurt those kids, because I mean, I'm like Billy, those were my kids by the end of the show.
Facts.
Let me tell you
And
something. I
I'm
was
a
looking kind
sucker
of side eyed Jane. Like, oh man. No.
Yeah, you need to keep your eye on her. And I don't know if when Brandy, you said you liked Sinatra, I don't know if you meant you liked like how well she's playing her character or what.
Yeah,
Because
I like
I
how well
can't
she's
stand
playing
that
that role. No, I
Yeah.
don't like her, but that's you see what I'm saying?
But
Like,
that's a sign of how well she did
yeah,
that we
like
don't like her.
Exactly. Yeah.
she
I was
played
ready
that
for her to
role.
go
I
too.
was like,
So somebody
Yeah.
get this.
I enjoyed it though because again, I like a good villain. Give
yeah,
me a good villain,
and she
like
was
no
not a
redeeming.
redeemable villain. I was like, screw you, bitch.
Ooh.
So
Yeah. Yeah. She
great
was-
show.
Teresa.
See, I thought it, and then you said it, and then
She was terrible. I mean, I spent half the series just seething. Like, just because you did this, you saved these people, or you're acting like you saved the people. That doesn't mean you can be a dictator. I mean, why did you even bring on a president if you were going to be like the king?
Because the president is a figurehead.
He was a puppet. Yeah.
Feel safe. We have a president. This is just like, America.
Just like normal, right? Everything's
Uh-huh.
normal. And the final thing I will say is that the president had an impeccable sense of music. Absolutely impeccable. Every song that he chose, I was singing word for word. So,
Yeah.
his son is picking on him about his old fashioned music or whatever. I was like, whatever, child. That music is
Right.
classic.
You hush.
You want some
You
skibbity
hush your
toilet
mouth.
bullshit?
Ungrateful.
Churlish. Yeah. Yeah. That was absolutely like the soundtrack was definitely one of the highlights
Yes.
of the show. And it was I forget the term for it because not necessarily covers or remixes, but they were all like interpolations of the songs.
About to
Right.
say,
And- and those I think were a little bit more impactful. Like
Mhm.
when what was the Us when they took I Got Five on It and they redid that song, revamped that song I Got Five on It for the movie Us. Like I can never hear that song the same way again.
I can't.
Mm.
And
It
it's
is like
creepy to me. It's so
right,
creepy.
it
Like
fits that so well. And so like,
Who
hearing Paradise from Genesis,
Yep.
it just oh
Mhm.
man, it hits so hard in that moment. So like the soundtrack was, it was a paid actor for this entire show, and it really played a big part in bringing the scenes together and changing the tone and the mood appropriately for every scene that we saw it. Even when we had the son get out there and he decided to sing every rose has a thorn, like probably not the like that particular song. I know it because I grew up and that's what all the kids in school were listening to
That's my
until
song.
big.
I'm sorry. I
Like
was a heavy metal girl.
Me
Fifth
too.
and
and
sixth
see,
grade, I was a heavy metal girl.
like I said, that particular
Poison,
song,
Skid
it's not one
Row,
that I have
Guns N' Roses.
like Guns N' Roses, but that particular song as the ballad was, I liked more of the like rock out music. And so, Welcome
It
to the Jungle,
fit
like I'm
though.
right there,
Like
and
it
so
fits so
it
well.
did. And
Exactly.
that's what I was gonna say. Like,
Mm.
even though that's not a song I have on my playlist, it was perfect to be the song that he chose to be on stage with. And like I said, the music was a paid actor in this series, and
Yeah, you can tell they
definitely,
put money in that. That
yeah,
costs.
definitely did his part.
That costs big
All
money.
them rights.
Jeff,
Yeah.
what were your thoughts? What were the good things? What was the positive that came from
Positives.
Paradise?
Yeah, I mean, like everybody else said, I had heard people, talking about the show. I didn't really know exactly what it was about. Um and I just was like, all right, enough people are talking about it to where I'ma just let it ride. I was like, I'm gonna let some episodes accumulate too, because I don't know if I want to just be trying to go week to week on this. So um I think for me, definitely the mystery whodunit aspect of it was what really captured me. The dystopian future, we're inside of a mountain, like what's really going on in society thing was one thing, but the who killed the president thing was probably the thing that like hooked me more. But I also like the way that they kind of did this episodic, like, we're meeting this person, we're seeing them outside the mountain, now we're seeing them inside. And I liked the way that they edited the story so that you understood people's motivations for being there. You understood people's motivations for why they are acting the way that they are, why certain people's relationships are, you know, moving in certain ways. And I think for the most part, they did a great job of intertwining all of the characters together, which is not an easy thing to do when you
Yeah.
have that many characters in a show and that many moving parts in a show. And um it kind of felt, without not it was not as quirky as I like some of my mystery solvers to be. It wasn't, there was no,
Right.
you know, Elsbeth or anybody like that. But I think
The
even in
poker
just
face.
like even in Sterling's kind of like stoicness and his like soldier mentality, even inside of that, I think that it gave like it's just like a different tone, because it definitely was interesting that even though like all this was going on until they, do the whole thing where they go get the guns and everything like that, everybody in the town is pretty much like oblivious to what's going on. So there is
Right.
this very like quiet, espionage undertone thing that's happening that I liked as well, because I think everybody was kind of aware of like the need to not like completely upset the balance of what they felt was like what's left of society in the show. But yeah, I think the acting was really good. I mean, Sarah Shahi has been an actress that I've liked for a long time, all the way back to Fairly Legal on USA. Um, yeah, she's a good actress, but
She's also nice
she
on the
she
eyes.
she fine. Like
Yeah.
Sterling, I
Nice
get
on the
it, brother.
eyes.
I get it, brother. You held out for 5 years, and you was strong, and you held on to the memory of your wife, and you raised them kids, and you was doing your thing. You found a surrogate family, and brother, you don't have nothing to feel bad about. All right, when you go out there on that plane and you
I have a critique of that.
I
you
thought you was
find your
dead.
wife,
I have a
look,
critique of that because it was so very out of character and it added nothing. It added nothing to the plot. It would be different if they would have maybe had we had more episodes, they could have established something. It jumped up out of nowhere. It was not necessary. She didn't have to do that to tell him what the president told her. It added nothing to the story. It was just gratuitous, and it. I'm tired of that trope, and I wasn't even going to necessarily speak on it because I already know, but it is a tired trope in sci-fi, and I've talked about this before, where you have two characters that just because one is black and one is white, they have to, even if it doesn't do anything to further the plot. It did nothing. It was gratuitous. As much as I enjoy seeing Sterling K. Brown's behind, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, well, all right, you better be in the shower. There was
I,
just no
I
impetus.
mean,
It did
I have a different.
nothing.
we
I have a
can
different take
we
on
can
that.
we can talk. We can get
Hold
into
on,
that.
yeah.
I feel like a little bit, but
It's not a right or wrong.
I
Okay,
know. I already
then
know.
we won't talk about it. We won't talk about it. I just have a different take on it because of who the character was, and I would just address it from that standpoint because I felt like it was a little bit more predatory than anything because she's a psychiatrist and it was a psychological tactic more than anything. And she was playing on the fact that he has been stoic and standoffish and hasn't really interacted or moved on. And she's a pretty girl. I'm sure she knows she's a pretty girl. And I felt like she was playing on those connections because she was asking about the wife. She was talking to him about the wife. She was like,
Exactly.
and then she goes right in, sinks her teeth in because it ends up even coming back up because the next morning he was like, hey, this was great. And she's just like, yeah, no, it's fine. It's casual. Stop. You break my. It's so nonchalant for her. And then when Sinatra has something to say about it, she feels like, it gets flipped back on her because she thought she was the one in control, only to find out that she ain't in control of shit. That
And
Sinatra
I want to
still
speak on this
had the
too.
controls there. So I just thought it more, I understand the trope side of it and why that would be negative, but I looked at it more from a psychological predatory standpoint and her being the power player because at first he came at her and he was like, why did you tell me to do this? And she just like slowly broke him down, slowly broke him down, slowly broke him down.
Right, but for what? To what end?
Now, see, I
She
didn't
did
like it
nothing with
either.
it.
I didn't like it either. I want to
If
speak.
that was the case, and later on she flipped like Jane or something happened, then I would be like, "Oh wow, that was incredible." But literally nothing came of
And
it.
I think that it was with all the different twists, I felt like it was being set up like at one point I was watching the show and at one point I thought that Dr. Tarabi was going to be the one who was the mastermind behind everything. Because it looked like every time Sinatra started to lose a little bit of control or she had, she would be like, calm down, you got that, you know what I'm saying? And like get her back. And then she would go back. She'd be like, don't do this. You don't need to do this. It'll disrupt the balance. And she kept, the doctor kept Sinatra in line. And then, like now she's like, hey, say this. And she's like, why did you have me say that? She's like, well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about that. He doesn't want to talk about his dad. And then he breaks down. He talks about his dad. He doesn't want to eat the cheese fries. Then he breaks down and eats the cheese fries. He does, what I'm saying? He's like, I'm married. And she's like, yeah, I know. And still pushes on. So she was slowly like breaking him down so that she could be in control and she could have him as her puppet. Only to find out that Sinatra has cameras in her room and she's still in charge and she's still the big bad. She's really that monster. Now, Doctor's off in the corner. She's like, damn, I thought I had this whole thing figured out. Only to find out that Sinatra still running the show.
None of that is anything in the show.
I read that.
All of that
I read
you
that
just
completely
said.
differently.
See, I agree with you, Granny. I didn't like the hookup, but I didn't like the hookup because I felt like that shit happened way too fucking soon.
Thank you.
Like I was
That's
like,
why I said maybe it's because there's only 8 episodes. Because a lot of my complaint with the show is it feeling like they had to get everything in, and I was like, I would have rather seen that kind of develop out over 16.
I was going to save that for the what we don't like section.
Definitely read that completely different than everybody else, which I think is a benefit of the show because there was a lot of stuff that was like happening just to happen, and some of it I feel like was like, this is to throw you off the trail, or this is to make you think about this person a little bit differently because It was a lot of like, maybe it's this or maybe it's
Misdirection.
that. Maybe it's this
Yeah.
or maybe it's this person. And so, but for me, I definitely, once I looked at like how it all unfolded with them, I think that like I looked at Sterling's character as being like completely consumed with the job because of what he had lost, right?
Right.
Because, and I think as we like learn more and more about like what happened leading up to them being in there, I feel like as I'm looking at Sterling, and they're going back and they're re-showing like some things again, and you're seeing certain interactions from a different angle and
Yeah.
seeing different things. I'm seeing Sterling as somebody who is like, okay, the one kind of purpose you allowed yourself to focus on has now been like completely like taken away from you, and so now what are you going to do? Where are you going to turn this like laser like focus? I do agree that like it happened very 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 fast. I also don't always I look at it like I don't know what the rules is for like getting freaky inside the mountain either. Maybe everything just is on a faster timetable, but I think what happened afterwards was I do think Sterling was starting to allow himself to develop feelings for potential of actually like moving on from his wife, who he at that point had presumed was dead. Because when I look at the conversation that he had with his daughter, they both were kind of in like a parallel situation where it's like, oh, you got a new friend? I got a new, yeah, you got a new friend too, huh? But once he sees how close and embedded she seems to actually be with Sinatra, like they whispering at the carnival and then looking away and all this other shit like that. Now he's really like taken aback, like, okay, who can I trust? I think it was a
Right.
moment of heat. They got caught up. This man been in the mountain for 5 years. I think the way that they followed it up could have been a little bit better. I will agree with like the follow up. There's not really like any sort of like payoff. And I think, even once we get to like the end, if he go out and he find his wife and come back, now what will that situation be like? But I mean, clearly, like this man loved his wife because he was a monk for
Yeah. I
five
don't even
years.
see it being a situation because even she was like, it's not a big deal.
But I think that was I don't think that it was I think when she was saying it's not a big deal, I think she was more saying like, at least this is how I read it. I don't think she read it like this the sex meant nothing. There's like no feelings. I think she was more like, we don't have to, like, we're adults. We don't need to have sit down and have the like what are we conversation right now, because there's
Right.
like bigger fish to fry. We're on the
Well,
trail of trying to figure out what the fuck happened to the president. We had a passionate moment that like got the best of us, and like when it's time to revisit this, we can revisit it, because they were definitely like still communicating and still talking and giving each other eyes from across the carnival. And he was all awkward, like, I can't, like I got to go the other
Right.
way because I'm with my kid type shit. Like if it really, really, really didn't mean shit, he could have just walked up to her and been like,
Right.
"Hey,"
But it
or he
meant
wouldn't
something
have had to
to
go the
him.
completely
It
opposite. No,
didn't
yeah, no, I
necessarily have,
agree. I agree with that. And I
I
think
don't know.
I
I
agree though.
just,
It never circled back around because then we started getting into like a whole bunch of other shit. I think the only purpose that it served was to make it seem like, well, I don't know if I can actually trust you because like, did you give me this pussy because you like me, or did you give this to me to like shut me up and take me off Sinatra's trail? Outside of that, I don't think
mhm.
that the writers really did a good job of actually revisiting it and offering closure between the two characters on what it was. But
Right.
Right.
I think, as we can all see, there's like multiple interpretations of, we all saw the same thing, and there's like multiple interpretations of it. And that was just like one of those things. I mean, if we can get into like the stuff that was kind of about it, I think that's one of those things. It was like,
Yeah.
y'all was throwing a lot of ideas out there, and then like how we were connecting some of these dots was a little bit flimsy at times. It's
Yeah.
like great
absolutely.
premise, but the closure, I know, Sam, I know you were screaming at the TV when Billy was like, I'll tell you tomorrow. It's like, motherfucker,
Yeah.
if you don't just tell him tonight,
Say the
like,
thing. Just say
like,
the thing. But that would
yeah.
have been the end of the episode right there. You know what I'm saying? And it's like I get that. And
But he
so
still could have died, and it still would have
yeah.
been like more stuff for Sterling K.
Now it would have
Brown's
just been
character to
he
like
said, she
figure
said,
out.
and no proof.
We'll
Right.
learn it
Right.
faster.
Like,
I did really like a lot of the stuff they did bring around, though. So maybe, and we're still talking about likes, maybe that's another reason that frustrated me so much, because so much of the things that they introduced came back around. When you find
Right.
out that they turned the cameras off because they play the Wii
Set
and the
up
daughter
payoff.
was there, you
Right.
know what
Right.
I'm saying? And then you find out the daughter was there, and now you find out the daughter knows all of the tea because she didn't got the like stuff like that. It's like they did such a good job of introducing things and then swinging back around later. Like you find out when you see the president cooking dinner and telling his son, "Hey, you need to come to dinner," and then you swing back around and see from his perspective what he was doing.
Right.
Like,
Having that
yeah.
real
you know what
moment
I
of
mean?
clarity. Yeah.
Right. They did such a good job of introducing red herrings, and then
A
later
lot
on
of
when
things paid off.
even the
So
dude who killed the president, like,
yeah.
you know
All
what I
paid
mean? This
off.
is not anything that I would have I registered. I saw that man. They made a production out of him speaking to that dude, but why would I ever think it was this guy? You know what I
Right.
mean? And they still, so I really did
That
like
was
how
one
they
that
so
I was
that
like, that was one where I
I'm
was
not
like, I
saying
don't
that I
know,
think
man.
it was the best.
We've been talking to 9 different people, and all of a sudden, this
Yeah.
is brand new librarian ass Kate, like
I'm not
that one
saying it
to
was
me
the
was the one
yeah.
where I was
The
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
And
let's talk
honestly,
about what we like.
I do feel like that was one of those twists that was so left field that it feels like a big reveal when in actuality you've really done nothing to properly breadcrumb us to that, where that could have
Right.
been the conclusion we came to. You think it's and Jeff will appreciate it. You tried to M. Night Shyamalan us with that, you know what I'm saying? Like it was such a
Right.
great
No,
yeah,
twist
I'm thinking
when
it was the
like, bro,
girlfriend or the
you really
daddy. I'm like,
haven't.
oh, the daddy did it because
Right.
he's crazy and he, thought he was a
Yeah,
prowler
yeah.
or something. No,
So
random stranger.
I
here's a
mean, but
couple
I
of
was
things
cool
for
with
me.
the Liberian dude being the guy. But
When they
because I
revealed
like
who the
the
guy was, he was committed to his goal and he wanted to see it through. Okay, I respect that part of it. But when you have this guy who has already attempted to murder the president once, is
right.
sitting in jail, gets out of jail, happens to be in this area, finds his way over to it's
And
just,
you
I
want
mean,
us to
like,
believe that he grew a goatee,
boy,
and you all
everything just
forgot what
lined
this
up
nigga looked like.
so well for this to be the perfect situation, which I mean, come
Understood.
on, it's great.
well, and
And
my main thing was that he was not at all integrated in the rest of the story in any meaningful way. So it's like when we
Right.
get to like, when we telling Billy's story, it's like we've met Billy, we've hung out with him, we got his temperament, we see how at least how he has interacted with our main character like a few
Right.
times. So when we going back and we're seeing his backstory, like the sympathy that we're
It
garnering
matters.
for him is because we already know this guy and you've already established this thing of like, here's the character, all right, here's their motivation, here's their life beforehand, here's how it all interconnects. That character being introduced so late and being so significant felt out of place in how the story had been told up until that point. Like, I know we've been
Right.
to the library, but like, if the librarian had conversations with whoever more
Like
than
the
just like, well, this is
son.
over here, this is over there. Yeah, like
Yeah.
show the librarian, the most we had seen, like we had more interaction with the lady at the diner than we did with the actual librarian
Yeah.
who
Right.
caught as the accomplice. So
That's
for me,
true.
it was like it was very like who? The
right,
librarian, like we got a library? Like
I thought that was the music room. But
yeah.
yeah, and there were a lot of good things, and we've hit on most of them. For me, the two things that I really liked as a whole, the obvious like wannabe twist was, like I said, that was one that I didn't figure out, but there were no breadcrumbs that led to that. And every time they kept throwing you off the trail by revealing a little bit more information. And so having that, um, it almost felt like a Christopher Nolan kind of story because they did very Memento. Here's a little bit of current, here's a little bit of back, here's a little bit of current, here's a little bit of back, and going through each of the characters and all of the main players, it kind of set up the premise every time you were watching an episode to know who our focus was going to be on today. Who are we following today? What give us, like what's their story? Why are they here? What did they do? And some of the characters that didn't get that treatment, Jane. We know nothing about this lady Jane, and she ends up being a major plot point.
Right.
And it's just like boom. You know what I'm saying? He's like, well, you better get the biggest, baddest one you got. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, you tell her, Billy. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, Billy, that dude, like, oh, okay, so you wasn't Secret Service before this. You was actually
He
just
was
a straight up
out here.
mercenary out here getting it done.
Right.
And
Like,
now
where's her episode? Like, I'm cool
Okay.
with the librarian and his little African friend who was digging the mine, but like Jane has put in work and we've seen her and we've been around her and we don't know nothing except that she is one of the killers that was brought down.
8
Like,
episodes. This is what you can do with 8 episodes.
right.
And-
It is eight
Like,
episodes.
that's the problem.
Right.
yeah,
Like, you gotta
And-
devote you. This is the issue with this EP ass TV. Like, you gotta really. Can y'all release an album? Like,
yeah.
you
Well,
keep
no, I mean,
giving us these abbreviated ass seasons. Like, yo,
no, Jeff already broke it down. I mean, they're trying to make sure that everything doesn't hit syndication and they can control the content and control
Yeah.
the
That makes
IP
so
and
much
stuff.
they
sense.
don't have to
But-
pay an actor a certain wage because you got this many episodes and this many lines. Because actors that's union.
yeah.
That's union
Yeah.
jobs. So
So
you gotta pay them to scale.
but yeah, the
I mean,
Christopher
that
Nolan
just makes all the
storytelling.
sense.
Yeah, the Christopher Nolan storytelling, where we would get a little bit here, then a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, and kind of jumping back and forth between the past and how we got to this point and the current events as they're taking place. It did feel very similar to the storytelling from a Memento or the storytelling from what was the one Tarantino did, Pulp Fiction, where it's like you really have to kind of lock in and pay attention because it does jump around. Now, we didn't have to worry about going from black and white to color. There were the very simple, you could tell what time it was and what era it was. But it also gave us an opportunity to see a lot more depth and, as Jeff pointed out, motivations for each of these characters, because we did get to spend a little bit more time with this president who seemed like a spoiled little brat, rich kid drunk, only to find out that like, okay, so if he really like locks in, like, okay, this dude could be, you know what? He's really not a bad guy. Like at the end, he did the best he could do under the circumstances. Maybe not the way
Right.
he should have done it, but it was also he was going to go out with a clean conscience. And then to find out that he's got the football and the choices he makes, it's so much gets revealed. And for me, the episode 7 was the best and biggest episode. I think as we transition into some of the dislikes, I think one of the first things I heard early on was just that kind of soft landing. Like they did not hit the show started off so strong. At the end of episode 1, I was like, play 2,
Yeah.
go to 2. Oh my,
Absolutely.
what? Go to 2. And then I watched
Absolutely.
episode 2 and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this. And I was hyped and I was excited. And it was everything was right in your face right off rip. And it's like, oh wow, we about to have a whole world-ending event, and oh wow, they in a mount. Okay, what's going on? Oh, the president did. Oh, was it who done? And it's like I'm all in and I'm invested. And at the end of episode 7, I was like, where do we go from here? Like, what are we gonna do? And watching episode 8, I feel like everything had a nice little bow. They tied up all the loose ends. They wrapped everything up and they sent you on the way. They ended the show, but it didn't have And I think you all were actually talking about this, how that last episode just didn't really have the
It's
same
just weird
impact.
because there's a second season. They've confirmed there's a second season, so we didn't have to tie everything up. Like I understand that maybe they didn't know that, but they could have left things a bit. Because where do we go now?
I think the
Is
cliffhanger
this up
of
to the surface? Is that the only? Because I guess we still have
I think that's
Sinatra.
what it is.
Right.
Yeah, and I think what it is gonna be like her, because I think Sinatra's whole thing was like, you got to kill the scientists who went on the excursion, because
Yeah,
once people here find out there's people out there,
they're gonna want to
these
live
people are
here.
going to want to leave, and we need these people have been selected to be part of this society and this ecosystem to hold it all together.
Right.
If they leave, we're not going to be able to keep this together. And then if people out there find out this exists, they all going to be trying to come here. We got enough food, water, and liquor for 25,000 people. That's
Right.
it. Like, now we gonna be on the white Great Wall, picking people off, trying to like get inside the mountains. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's where they could go, which is like, understandable. But I mean, I agree. Like, the episode 7 was just like so tense, since everything just like ramped and ramped and ramped and ramped and ramped, and it's like, all right, we've uncovered and unlocked the mystery of how we got here, but
Yeah.
we still don't know how we got here, as in this show, the premise, our main character.
Right.
And even the wrapping of a bow, it's like our main hero didn't even get to bring down the bad guy. He
Right.
jumped to his
Right.
own death, and it was just like it felt very like castrated. And I feel like they felt like it was gonna be, even Sinatra getting shot. It was like, but she ain't die.
Right.
So like, now what? It's like we got crazy ass Jane. What's her name? Jane.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Crazy ass Jane playing we. We got Sterling going off to find his wife. We got Sarah Shai trying to figure out what's really going on down here, because I thought I was cultivating one thing, and
And it's
you know,
not right.
it's
All I've been
not
doing is
what
It's
I
potting
not
thought
the
it
that.
monster.
was. Then we got President Junior Jesus leading the new apostles in
Right.
the School of Rock. So
Right.
I I
And don't
think there's
forget, we have the
places to,
daughter falling for
right.
President Jesus Jr.
And it's just
The
like,
daughter who knows everything,
and
which
I'm sure some gonna come up with
dealt
James
with
and the Giant
that.
Peach Jr. next season too. But
Yeah.
I do think, like, even in just like how this was landed, it was such an interesting and intriguing story. But in some of the ways that it landed for me was just a bit unsatisfying. And that's just me being greedy. And I think maybe, like you said, maybe they didn't know they were gonna have a season 2, but maybe they thought it was just, maybe Sterling flying off into the
It's like
sunset
a
was just,
one-off.
yeah.
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 And
Yeah. I
maybe
mean,
it
it
was the
definitely.
8 episodes and they didn't have enough time to develop stuff. But I also just look at it like, you understand how many episodes they ordered. So you have the responsibility as the writers and the creators to like make it fit. And um I I just was like, okay, the librarian thing really just like blew it for me, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not because it was the librarian, but it was just because of the lack of interaction from him the entire season. For it to be him
Yeah.
was largely unsatisfying, because even you
Felt like
telling
a
me
cheat.
his story didn't mean shit to me, because I'm like, I don't
Right.
even know who the fuck this dude is. Like,
It felt like a cheat.
and he had
If
a
they
great
would have,
Yeah.
because
story.
they made a big deal out of, oh, where did you get that book? And James was like, oh, whoever the teacher or whatever. They could have introduced the librarian that way.
Yeah,
Like, oh, we see him. He's really close to James. He gives him books. You know what I mean? Just something to put him on our radar prior to that one.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how you doing? Hey, and that was it.
right. Like,
Even
we saw
something as
more of the
simple as
bartender, we saw more of the scientists who got killed husband than we saw of the,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
The
we saw the
librarian.
more of the neighbor who snuck the dog down there. Like, it was just
Carl.
like
Yep.
so
Like,
many
look, I know his
people.
name, Carl.
Right. It's like, and I think that's what's hard too. Is like they introduce so many characters, they intertwine so many people to really show like how community can work
Yeah,
and should work. That for it to be this random person who was not involved in like anything up
anything.
until that point. And maybe that was them saying like, yeah, there's more
It could
shit
just be
going on
anybody.
than
Yeah,
it's
it
more
could
than
be
what's
the
Right,
going on in
right.
random
your little neck
person.
of the woods. But
Anybody could be the and
yeah,
But
even
also,
even
I
the
agree
idea.
with Sam. I agree with you when you're like, the other piece that feels, like I said, it feels like a cheat because, like you said, it was just the everything fell into place the exact perfect way. And he gets down. This man done tried to assassinate this man before. And all he needed was a little beard, and people were like, it's a whole new person. Like,
shave the cul-de-sac. They ain't care.
This
Like, what
nigga
kind of
You know
grew
what I'm
a
security is
saying?
beard,
that?
grew a beard and put on glasses. Like, are you
I mean,
fucking
I'm
even
serious?
even
Like,
him get even him getting into the mountain, it's like him freaking out and like it's like I'm sorry, that's not how security checkpoints work. They don't
thank
just be
you.
waving motherfuckers through because you're having a
Right.
panic attack. Especially like because the world like you know what you waving people through to.
yeah.
yeah,
Like
Right.
I don't
No, we gotta make sure you're good. Go over there.
yeah
We'll straighten
right.
pat. We
you
need
out.
Calm
a pat
down.
down. Like you can't even get a bottle of water through
Um,
security. Like
we have two right here, you know, and then
Right.
the distraction of him like making this whole little scene. All this lady had to do was glance down one time at her computer and recognize that this Maggie don't look nothing like that Maggie, and that
Right.
would have immediately been red flags. And if it had, if even if they had done that, and he had to like, he could have looked. You know what? We about to. This is how we fix that. Okay, this is what. This is the moment where we gonna put this on the therapy couch. This is how they could have fixed it. Let's take that exact same scene. This is how
hmm,
you rewrite that scene to make it make sense. They get there to the checkpoint, and he has the broken wristband in his hand, and they're going through trying to get him checked in. Now he's made himself attempt to look as much like this other person as he could. If in fact they had allowed him to just look like he always looked before he got there, let him keep the long hair, let him have the beard, but he took the people out, took their stuff, and he has access. He's in line. They're realizing that that's something's not right, but at this point, we're still hustling, bustle. It's still a big crowd. He pushes, fights his way through. Boom! He manages to get inside the city. Don't even worry about Maggie. What purpose did she serve? So don't even worry about Maggie. He manages to get inside the city. And then somewhere inside the city, he shaves his head. He cuts his beard. He takes this librarian position, or you know what I'm saying? And then for 5 years, he hides out. And he does start just like he said in his little deposition there, you know what I'm saying? Like he starts to say, like, I conformed and I started to feel safe and I deserve to live and da 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 da. And then the president came through and all those feelings returned. At least then you have some breadcrumbs where you know that there's a random person. And then when you show us that jumpsuit with the flower on the back, well, the guy in the library is right there by that thing and all of it. Now we have some breadcrumbs that actually lead some damn where. We're not just in the woods looking for Hansel and Gretel on the other side of the map. That was my biggest complaint, was that some of the breadcrumbs that they left went to no trails. They were just there. And I think introducing all of these various characters the way that they did, where they spent a little bit of extra time with Carl, and when he was telling Carl, like, that nothing was wrong with that light and that dog and da 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 da. It's like some people you kind of felt automatically were above reproach, and we didn't even consider that they could have been the ones. Only to find
Right.
out that like Billy was evil, like he was out there doing shit. So why could it have been Billy? But then you find out, okay, well, he trusts him and it's not Billy. But then we find out Jane, and it's like, well, damn, did Jane do it? Maybe because she's obviously a little unhinged. And if we wanted some stuff to happen, Sinatra make a call and Jane go do some stuff. You have
Right.
all of these little bits and pieces, and they start introducing all these random people to keep you guessing about who could, what's going on. And then randomly, this guy who just decides for the entire episode he doesn't like the president, wants to kill him, and now he's got the entire episode on lock, and we're just supposed to be okay with that. That was a breadcrumb that was never set up properly. The disguise and his access to the place didn't tell us anything because there was nothing before that led to that moment.
Well, it's like they've been dropping breadcrumbs for 7 episodes, and then episode 8 is like, here's a French roll to the face, and it's like, where did this come
Enjoy
from?
this croissant.
Psych,
Enjoy
nigga.
this croissant. You've been looking at all these breadcrumbs. Here's a
It's
croissant.
like I was expecting crumbs.
I appreciate that. I would, yeah, fix it, make it, yeah. That was, but overall, I enjoyed the show. Like I said, I watched every episode of that show.
Yeah.
And my attention span these days is that's all I got for you. So the fact that I sat and watched all 8 episodes, and like you, I'm like you. I have Hulu and I have Hulu Premium, and now I never go to Hulu.
Yeah.
But you know, I was locked in. I want to see what happens. It did kind of fizzle out for me, and I don't know. I feel kind of bad about that because other than that, I give the show a solid B plus, but also A. Like I'm in
Yeah.
there. It's
Right.
you. It's
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
I wonder what
You
the show
know.
would have been like if it was not wrapped up around the mystery of who killed the president. Because I think the mystery of like the world is not dead is actually like the thing that was a little bit that became more fascinating
Right.
over
Yes.
time than the president. And I think
Because
maybe
I'm like,
even
well,
in
dang, is
season
the wife
2,
alive?
right?
Like,
Because I think in season 2, it's like we don't need a kid, we don't need a whodunit in this. It's like you've developed
Right.
this world now. Let's explore that more. And
Right.
I think the fact that like that you committed to this like who killed the president thing, it's like over time I feel like I wasn't even I had to remind myself, oh yeah, they trying to figure out who killed the president. Because eventually it was like, all right, what the fuck is Sinatra hiding?
Right.
What did Billy really do? Who is Jane for real? Like, like you said, is the wife alive? Like, what is Sarah Shai's real motivations? Like, what is her real connection to Sinatra? Was
right.
she
I
will
who's
say
really
the
wish they
this.
would
puppet?
have revisited that. Like, I wish that somehow she would have had a bigger impact on what was going on. Like, I would have loved if, like Sam said, she really was the one keeping Sinatra in check. Like, I think that would have been an interesting use of that character because they put it out there and then
They
it's like
presented it
almost like
like
they didn't
that
know
was
what
a
to do with
thing.
And
her.
I think there's time for that. Like again, like that's the thing with 8 episodes. Like
That's true.
if they what I would have hoped that they didn't do or to stretch it out at least would have been don't let us know who killed the president. We don't have to know. Like Jeff said, you put this other world out here and this other situation. Okay, well, I'm good if y'all go and push and focus on that a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? We don't necessarily need to know because the fucking librarian is under fucking whelming. Once you figured out who he was, it's like, oh, you about to die, dude. Like you're getting caught. You're not a threat.
You're not even
The
supposed
only-
to be here.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
The only reason
She
we
doesn't
talking
even
about
go
you is
here.
because you used to work here. For
Right.
real.
Exactly.
Right.
I will say that what I and this was my brain having issue with it, and I think this is why I was looking at Dr. Tarobi in a different light prior to this moment. Until we find out about the librarian, the idea is still that somebody on this inner circle, one of these 25,000 citizens, is the killer.
Right.
Whether it be the daughter when we saw her with the iPad, it was an accident and she didn't mean it. Like you put a breadcrumb right there for that. Whether it was the dad who's losing his mind and thought didn't think that was his son. You got all these different
Mistress.
presentations. You know, maybe it was actually Nicole. Maybe Agent Robinson actually had something. You've got this major villain over here in Sinatra, and you have a dead president over here, and this big list of suspects. To not come back and make it one of those people,
Right.
and to have this random person is the biggest gut punch in the story for me. And that's where, because right up until that point, I was like, okay, so Dr. Tarabi and Sinatra, like, she knows that it wasn't Xavier who did it, but she knows that they're trying to pin it on him. So she's got to, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, that's the way I'm building this story out, because that's how they're showing it to us. Why did you wait 30 minutes to report? Like, this dude was the president's man. Like, this was his guy.
Right.
So
Well,
of course he should be in charge of anything involving the president. Now, if he's not your first suspect, and then the moment the like cameras were off and Billy was, I'm like, wait a minute, okay, hold on, this is just too convenient. And then it's a little bit later when Billy's talking to the daughter, and he's like, well, you know, remember how you used to come up there and play? I was like, oh, well, that's a convenient piece of information you just go randomly throw in, huh? Okay, so now the daughter's involved somehow. What's really going? To come back and just randomly pick this person who already had one attempt and failed, almost had a second attempt fail. This dude is not a good villain.
And we're supposed to believe that this motherfucker made it through the jailbreak. I'm stabbing you first.
I'm okay with him making it through the jailbreak because
made it into the president's home. Just conveniently, the cameras. Then you see what I mean? Like it's just is super.
I mean, it's that.
Well,
it's the anarchist cookbook of somebody committed to their ideals, and you know, sometimes the crazy takes over and it makes you hyper focus on the wrong things. I get how he got to that point. It's just not the person it should have been.
I think the other thing too is that like he kills the wrong person. Like when he's on the outside and he's just a regular civilian. And he's like, the government is commissioning this bill that killed my friend. Okay, yes, you trying to kill the president makes sense. But then we don't see none of the like other regular stuff where it's like, what are the manifestos, interviews, like him, you know, his message never gets out, right? But then when he gets in, he starts living, he's supposed to, they go to this book that's uncovered everything. And he's supposed to have uncovered all this stuff. And at no point does he realize, like, oh, it's not the president, it's Sinatra. Sinatra is the reason why my friends are dead, because Sinatra is the reason why this whole thing was commissioned. And that connection never being made, also, I'm realizing is kind of why, like, him just killing the president felt random. Not just because of who he was, but because I think of what we already knew about the project. So it's like, you're mad at the wrong person. And like, before you get down to Paradise, that makes sense. But once you get down to Paradise and you decide, like, I'm going to get whoever is responsible for this.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like everybody walking around there knows Sinatra is like.
Well, no, they don't.
They don't. Like, they know she's important.
But the regular people just kind of still think the president, they're still kind of making that whole facade of, you know, leadership and all this other stuff. Like, I don't think the regular people feel like
when they did,
when 15 billionaires at the table are the Illuminati.
When they made the announcement to the crowd, wasn't it Sinatra that went out and told everybody like what happened, and then this person is being installed? I don't think she's like walking around like a nobody. I think people like know she's like a billionaire.
It's a cultivated list.
Right.
It's a cultivated list. And it's one of those things where
it's her.
No. I'm with Jeff.
But if you're the librarian and you're there,
all you got is research.
You're gonna have a murder.
You're smart
board.
enough to figure out how to.
You're gonna have a board that's like who do I need?
Where's the red string?
Where's
the red string? Yeah, like you want to have somebody that's crazy and obsessed, and we don't get crazy and obsessed from him. We get very calm, very calculated, and we get adjusted to this new life. And just seeing the president, nah, bro. Like you see
that's
this
the
dude,
other piece. You would have seen the president. You would have seen him.
The president's here. It's only 25,000
a handful of y'all there. He would go places. It's not like he would have security, but I find it very hard to believe that this man was here for 5 years and that was the very first time.
Yeah. He's like Donald Duck's cousin who has like all the luck in the world. and just like everything just like fell into place for him. Like,
Hey
oh,
man,
here's the
Slowpoke
president.
Yeah, it's
Gonzalez.
like
You know,
isn't it convenient? Like right after he saw him, he somehow came up with the perfect plan and somehow got in past all the security, the
It's
meticulous
like, bro, if you
security
don't go home and eat some damn
detail.
cheese fries.
now I will say like even one of those like when they first showed as they were going through the files and Robinson was like, here's all the people we need to double check. And she's looking at the list and she's going through and then she's like, well, this can't be right. I actually, as I was watching it, grabbed my remote, paused it, rewind it to look at the computer before she spoke. And when I saw Maggie, why do I know that that's the waitress? Because they've built this waitress up. I could not tell you the librarian's name. I don't remember his name. All I know is he was the dude. Okay, so he was at the mines. His friend died. Somehow he ended up being a cameraman at the White House. Like, how you pull that off? How you not on a watch list for that? But okay, cool. You managed to get to that part. You attempt to assassinate. You don't get away with that. You end up in jail. You happen to be in a major jail in Colorado. And then the world goes to shit. There's a prison riot, and I'm sure cells just collapsed and the building was shaking, earthquakes.
Like
You
RG
managed to
said,
get
he would have
out.
got stabbed first.
You know what I'm saying? You
They
managed
would
to
have
get
shanked
out.
him
And
on the way
then,
out just because.
right, you know what I'm saying? And you're just casually walking and you
Thank you,
find a guy who just
Jesus.
happens to look enough like you that you can go into a bathroom
Yeah.
and doctor it up and look like the ID.
His whole backstory is a nigga please face. So it's just like, nigga, no.
Right. Oh yeah, we can go. If you go around this path, like, why are you just telling us that we can walk
just
around the side
knew-
of the mountain and not telling
I
everybody else
really
they can walk
thought
around this way?
that it was either going to
Yeah.
be the dad did it, or that somehow the therapist was a double agent, like she was acting like she was working for him,
Or
but was actually
Manchurian
still with
candidating
not.
somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I really thought that was going to come back around, and when it didn't, I was like,
Yeah.
I will say, my honest,
Like,
I thought Jane. I thought it was Jane. Jane seemed like she was just, if you were going to randomly have somebody and make it just be random, I was
Yeah,
thinking
he
Jane.
came downstairs and was like, "What the fuck y'all doing playing my Wii?" And she ain't like that shit, and so she beat him up. Like
And I honestly
that
thought it
would have
was a
made
case of her
more sense than
snapping.
the random librarian. And I feel
Yeah.
like I just want to reiterate, I did enjoy the show. It is
Very
a
much
good
so.
show.
I
Yeah.
It
did
just did not
100%.
stick the landing. If it had honestly ended on episode 7,
Yes.
yeah.
I would have been like,
Fantastic.
Emmys for everybody.
Oh, I can't wait for season 2.
Fantastic.
Like if it would have ended, if the penultimate episode would have been episode 8, oh man, I'm all
So,
in.
okay. So here we go. RG, who did you think it was? Who did you think done it? Who was the person in your head playing around?
I gotta be honest. I kind of thought that it was gonna be somebody related to the building. Now I didn't think it was the guy. Obviously, I didn't think it was the backstory. But the thing is that so based on that stupid ass movie, what was it?
2012.
2012, yeah, where they were all rushing to get to the Ark. The thing that I've always thought about these type of movies is, nigga, if I'm on the building squad that made this motherfucker, I'm gonna make it
here.
inside this motherfucker. Yeah,
That's
like
an
I'm in here.
That's an automatic pass.
Like I don't give a fuck if y'all give me the rights to get in. I made this motherfucker.
I
I'm
done
like,
built a little shelter.
I know how to get in that motherfucker.
Yep.
I'm in there.
I'm gonna have a subtunnel on the east wing, just big enough for me and my peoples. Like, you're not gonna tell me I
Yes.
can't be here. Okay, yeah, I get,
So-
and that's fair. So for them to kind of come back to the librarian, I get that. I get that. Teresa,
But you telling me I built a house down here and then I'm not gonna live in it? Please, I'm under the floorboards, player.
Okay.
right? It's like, you know what? That's cool. I'm gonna go over this way. I'm gonna leave.
I'm down
It's
there
like,
like
chick,
this.
chick, right?
What's that movie? What was that Korean movie?
Oh,
Where they-
was it
Where they lived
Parasite?
under
Parasite.
Parasite.
Yeah.
Listen, you think
Hey.
you by yourself in this?
The children under the
Teresa,
stairs.
who did you have? Who was playing around in your mind as the person who done it? Who were you thinking?
Sinatra.
Thought it was
You thought
Sinatra.
it was
She
Yeah,
was just terrible.
Yeah,
she
she was.
absolutely was.
Yes.
She really was. They even gave her the son, and I was like, I don't even care. You are a
Right?
Uncle, you
terrible
ain't
person.
deserve that little boy.
She
Right.
was
You're a
just
terrible
the
person.
worst.
Jeff, before the horrible reveal, who were you leaning towards being the killer, the culprit?
Honestly, I thought I thought his wife. I thought it was gonna be his wife. I thought she was like, I'm honestly tired of being like, I'm tired of the facade. I'm trying to be like my girl Sarah Shahi, go out here and get some of this Paradise D that's floating around here. I want to walk around the carnival with my boo. Like I'm over it. But you know,
Yeah, I mean, you know what, and that's fair
And it would have
because
made sense. It would have fit if I
yeah,
like that. Absolutely. We barely saw her. Like she's a
yeah.
peripheral character, and we know there's animosity there, and they don't deal with each other. So absolutely. But
plus the
I
absolutely.
whole like, let me see his body when she showed up. Like, all right, lady. Like, that's not
Wow,
gonna
you're
happen.
doing awesome.
Yeah, felt a little force there, putting on an act. Um, okay, so Brandy, are you sticking with the Doctor and Sinatra
I
combo?
no, I truly
No.
believed that it was either the dad or the girlfriend, is
Mm.
what I thought.
Okay,
I thought maybe it was a
Robinson.
crime of
Yeah,
passion of the girlfriend and she didn't mean to do it. She was upset, or that the dad was confused and attacked him and didn't realize it.
Mm.
especially since he was calling the Timothy Chalamet lookalike the son,
I know, right?
since he was calling him Cal, thinking that was his son. He was
Yeah.
obviously like not in his right mind, and yeah, I could definitely see that. I don't like. I'm very
Mm.
curious to see what they would do with the season two, and it seems like it's going to be more surface because they even went on to say like, oh, we suspect foul play. There's now going to be a body discovered, and even though you could probably keep it hush, between the signs on the dome, between the writing on the dome and the body falling from the rafter, I think there's going to be too many questions for them to just like ignore. Plus, the son is out here talking, and he's going to stir up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and the new
It
And
president
the
done
daughter
grew a
knows all the
pair.
tea.
right, and so it's definitely going to be a thing of like
Sinatra
Paradise
trying
is
to
going to be
claw her power back
right, and
Mhm.
it's definitely going to be an interesting
with no throat
world to see what's
muscles.
happening in Paradise. So I think next season, instead of having the before the event and current time back and forth, we're going to have on the surface and down in Paradise. That's going to be our dual story in the way that they run here to there, here to
Yeah,
there,
because
and
wouldn't Sinatra want to stop him? It's not like she's gonna be like, yeah, no,
Yeah,
go look for your wife.
yeah,
Go on.
for
Have a good
sure.
day.
no, I mean
That's
What
gonna
she's
if his
cause,
what if his
that's
wife
gonna
has found
be
somebody new and he show up and it's a
Mm.
brown K Sterling there waiting.
Well, no, in that case,
they
that would be
didn't have
kind of
wait,
fucked up.
they didn't seem
well,
like
That
they
would be
were
kind of
on
fucked
the
up because
best
she know her
terms
husband alive.
but
No,
see,
she
no,
don't.
no, no,
prior
no.
to.
No, she does because he was telling her to get on the plane. Remember, she was coming to meet him because she knew they was
No,
supposed to be
keep in
getting out of there.
mind the recording she has, she talks about being with other survivors in Atlanta, and she knows that her husband is headed to a facility in Colorado. If anybody can reach out to this person, I am this person, and I'm looking for him. He's somewhere in
And
Colorado.
and
And
all the
so I
planes
think
did not make it to Colorado because the planes with the
that
generals and
first
shit
plane,
did not
yeah,
I'm
make
when
it.
just
that
saying she
sound
know
wave
that her
came through.
husband is rocking with the president. I'm just gonna say this as a real dude. Look, yo, you knew I was gonna get to the spot before you. You knew I was
Nah,
gonna get to the spot. You could have waited. I thought you was dead. Now
nah, you
you,
can't come
the
in with that
news was
chest
there was
after
a new.
rocking and
Nah,
rolling in the shower with Sarah Shahi.
that's look,
To
man.
be
I thought
fair,
you was
though,
dead. I
that
thought
part
you
of
was
it,
dead.
it's been 5 years and we
Yeah,
literally thought all life on Earth was dead.
yeah,
You can't
Right.
be mad that
yeah.
five
It's a
years
nuclear
later I
winter. You
finally
gotta
got
I'm
stay
a
gonna be like,
piece.
warm.
did you think I was there? You knew I was in the bunker.
It's not even like, if he moved down there and just immediately moved in with a broad, then I'm away.
But also, it's like if you
like,
knew
damn,
if I know you in the bunker, but you think I'm dead,
Yeah,
I'm gonna move like you think I'm dead.
right. Right, because we're
Because I
probably,
don't
why would
expect
I
you to
ever
come
think
out
we
the
would see
bunker
each
for
other
me.
again? Yeah, exactly. So,
I mean, I could respect
the nuclear underground railroad had not been like actually established yet.
Yeah.
the only thing I
wasn't really sure. We'll see
you
what
I
can't.
will
It's like when
say
happens.
people came back
everybody.
after the blip. Like you can't be mad at
Yeah, I
me
was
that
about to
I got
say
a new wife. Like
Facts.
all is
nobody knew he
forgiven.
was coming back.
Like
I
this
mean,
is my
she
house now,
says she's
man.
searching for the nigga though. She
Business.
says she's searching for him. She literally asking people, if you see my husband, tell him I'm looking for him. Right?
But
Like,
still,
what was gonna happen when
But
I
that was
found
but
you?
that was also
Like he was
a
gonna find her. She was
recording.
gonna be like, I was looking
We don't
for
know how
you.
long
We
ago
don't know
I was
how
looking
that.
for
long
you,
ago that
baby.
recording was.
What
and he
we
doesn't
don't
have
know what's
no
up.
idea that she would be alive. So I wouldn't, as an irrational woman, sometimes when it comes to relationship stuff, even I would not feel she can't come around, but
Well,
And I
I
hold on.
don't
I
blame.
ain't saying he should dead her. I'm not saying he should dead her. You know
Teresa,
what I'm saying?
because Sinatra is so terrible. I quit from the first moment I heard it. I questioned the authenticity of the recording.
Same.
Yeah,
mm,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
true too.
That's what I
I,
thought.
think there's definitely a possibility that she was just using it to manipulate him.
And
Yeah.
I
see,
thought
that would
she
have
was
played
already there. I thought she
that would have
got the
played so
recording,
much
went and
better
got her.
into the Dr.
Yeah.
Gabrielle
Mhm.
being on her side by being able to manipulate him and get this
Yeah.
information.
Hmm.
See, it all could have fit together, and then
I
they
would
flip
love
it.
that. Would love for that to be the case. I
Look,
promise
we are
I will be
slowly
like,
making
ooh,
me
that's
not like this show. Hold
dastardly.
on, because
Ooh,
I
ooh,
may have
that's
to start
good.
knock that
It
point down.
it
Like
still
this,
had entertainment value, and see that's what I'm
Yeah.
noticing. Just like
Exactly.
with the movies, the
No,
Marvel
because
movies
yeah,
yeah,
or movies
she's
yeah.
period.
like I told you I love a good villain. Give me just straight up for
I
no
will.
good reason,
When
absolute
she,
terrorizing,
I would say
and
one of the
that
best
would be
lines when she was
so
like, "Oh,
good.
maybe I am a monster," and then sat down. I was like, "Ooh, ooh,
The
Oh yeah.
way
evil,
that she was so calm with Billy when he was
evil."
like, and you better send your biggest. And she just sat there and looked at this man like, you damn fool. Like she
Mm.
was so, and I was like, oh, it's Jane. As soon as the way that she looked when she kind of smirked, like,
Oh yeah. I need
I
a
got
season two.
you.
On how did I need to find out how Sinatra just because she didn't seem that type of person on the way there. Like on the
Right.
plane, it didn't look like she was going to become this person. So I need to see the 5 year,
What
journey
happened?
that she
The
was just
mental
like,
break
you
of
know
Sinatra.
something?
You
Fuck
didn't think
that. Kill them. All right.
wait.
I'm sick of this. I'm tired of y'all. Y'all gonna fuck this up. Somebody
You
Even
didn't
gotta
when,
see
make
that
the
even
on
hard
the
when it
plane?
felt
choices.
very altruistic, it felt like she really went into this
She
trying
didn't.
to make the best of a bad situation. We're going to save the best and bright. Like I really,
Right.
even when she was talking to the son, remember, and he's like, "Oh, in heaven," and I was like, "Y'all really trying to make me feel for this woman," and I don't. But that was a poignant scene,
Right.
And he's like, "Is paradise ahead?" And she's like, "Yes, it's good." And I was like, "Okay." So you're right. There really was no. There was just all of a sudden she's evil,
She just,
and
I
I
mean, on
mean
the
flat
plane,
out.
she wasn't. She was aggressive on the plane, but she ain't threatening. It's not like if he would have said talk to her the way he talks to her in Paradise, she'd have been like, "Yo, I get this. I blow up Air Force One right the fuck now." Like she wasn't popping off on the plane. She was still humble
No,
on the
She
plane.
was literally like,
So
let the nukes hit though.
yeah, she was talking. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
Like
she's pragmatic.
she
No,
was like,
this is the
fuck them
thing.
EMPs. Because
She's
then people are gonna
pragmatic.
live and kind of come to paradise.
True.
that was exactly what she.
She's pragmatic.
We
She's
planned for a nuclear winter. What do you mean you're not going to make a nuclear winter? No,
that's
we planned for that, not for this. And that was her whole point. And I think like when we got to see the conversation later where where the president is talking to Sinatra and she's just casually, sitting there. And every time we saw her having those conversations with people, she was always very relaxed and very in control. We never saw her become unhinged. We knew there was a problem when she was like pulling at her hair because they gave us that little bit in the scene, like, I'm stressing and da. So they did that. And the only time we saw her like start to lose it was when the sign was up on the board and she was wanting to do the reset. And the doctor was right there at that time to be like, you can't do this. Remember, this is what we're trying to do. And that moment where it was like, okay, he was going to have me in that room. He was going to have us all corralled. They stole our guns. Da 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 da. That's where she snapped.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until that moment, because when he came in there and he had the gun, she was like, what are you going to do? Kill me?
Right.
Before you do that.
See, that's where it lost me.
And she
like, bang.
Right. Now, when he came back the second time,
play the recorder my damn self.
Look, when he came back the second time and he thought that the daughter was dead and he like kneeled down, crouched down and had the little ankle piece, I was like, okay, that's what I'm talking about. Get it. And then like, what? And then Jane came in and, did her little piece. And she was like, hey, you realize I just saved you because he was going to shoot you in the head. So maybe next time you get me a weed when I ask for it. Okay. Like Jane she's really unhinged.
Season 2.
Even that moment was like, she was not the big bad that she had been a scene prior. You know what I'm saying? And she's still, it's like now that the vice president is taking over because all the billionaires are down in the conference room, they're freaking out. And he's up there like, hey, silence. And he sits down, chest all puffed out. Sinatra's like,
I have balls now.
In coma. You know what I'm saying? Like she's in recovery. She's there in the hospital and whatnot. So she'll be out of play for a little bit. And it won't be until she starts trying to recoup. And then, of course, she's going to be trying to get up out the hospital bed and take care of things. And the husband may be like, hey, you need your rest. You've done enough and blah, 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 blah. But all of this, she knows all of this about to fall apart. She knows that once those doors, because those doors going to be wide open. Like he flew a plane at it. I doubt he got out to close them back. You know what I'm saying? He flew a plane at it. The garage door is wide open.
He had the garage door remote, though. You close it behind him.
What kind of bullshit is that? You're going
like,
to send, that's another thing too. You sent the nigga to go like, hey, go ahead. I'm not going to have like 3 niggas already up there with you. Like, all right, go ahead. We'll open the door for you. No, we'll close it.
No,
because I want to make sure.
Because it's still contained within like a very relatively small amount of people. Like what's actually happening.
Like everybody doesn't know that the surface isn't
in the sky.
But there's obviously at least the one person, right? You felt comfortable enough to let Billy go up there. So I'm pretty sure that you would be comfortable enough to let 2 other of your hitters go up there. Just let them go up there and have them press the button.
I think she's gonna send people out into the world and like,
go after Sterling.
Yeah,
or try to find his wife before
he gets back.
The 3 guys that were there's only one of them left now, but the one dude who is still part of the security team, part of her personal security team, because 2 of the guys is dead. So the one dude that's still remaining because he wasn't there, he'll be sent. Jane might get sent because she's just wacky enough. You know what I'm saying? And maybe one other person. So we'll have these 3 people chasing after Xavier. And Xavier is just randomly going to fly a plane from Colorado to Atlanta and just be walking around Atlanta.
I was just getting ready to say, and just so happened to, I guess, land in the exact right spot.
There you go. The whole city.
But like, he'll have the basics as far as like communication, whatnot. And I did need to have like a little bit more as far as like he needed not only the FBI training, but like maybe a military background just so I can justify some of this other stuff. Cause it's just like, they really be teaching all that in the FBI school? I don't know. But, Secret Service school, they best of the best. But it's just, it's as we move into season 2, I think the biggest question is, as we pointed out, the survivors and what's happening on the surface, these people trying to get to paradise, whether it be him finding, because if he finds her, he's not going to be able to just show up with her, take her, and leave. He's going to have to come back with that little township, or you know what I'm saying? And it'll be one of those things where, like, maybe we get to see a different side
Right.
of him where he's like,
You can stay here with him.
it's
Right.
just
You can come with me.
Be with me.
Oh,
when we
no.
got hot water and
No. What I'm saying
showers.
is, like, if once Xavier pops up and he's there and he's trying to lead her away from this society, it's going to spill because she's been recording. She's been saying, like, my husband is in the bunker in Colorado. My husband's in the compound in Colorado. She's been saying that plenty of times. So it's probably something that she's been telling these other survivors. My husband is in this place. So if the husband suddenly shows up and he's in good health and doesn't look like he's been struggling for the last 5 years, they're going to be like, hey, where are you coming from? So now that township that she's a part of, this community of survivors, they're all thinking they're going to go with him. And we're going to have to see him kind of pick them off one at a time because he knows all of them can't show up.
Sneak out in the middle of the night. You got to be
Or maybe he's going to try to bring all of them back because he wants to help survivors, and Sinatra ain't going for that. Now he's got to fight his way back into the mountain.
I don't remember.
I don't know.
If it was me,
you know what I'm saying? It's like,
I would pull her to the side and be like, listen.
Oh, not Walking Dead.
This is what the hell we doing. If you want to stay here with Ray now, you can. But
nah. Jeff coming on with the Walking
8:30.
Dead. The wife coming in with a new baby, and okay, all right.
I know, right?
I see you, Robert Kirkman. Go ahead.
Right.
Know that
I'm not playing them kind of game. Like, either you going with me or you gonna stay here and I'm leaving. It's not.
I'm not even gonna let them people see me. I'm in the bush
like you don't need to know I'm even here.
Oh my God, I can't believe I found you. Come on, let's go.
Right. Like, we gotta go. I'm not even trying to get into that with you.
We will talk about
also,
this.
real shout out Glenn Thurman. Because I just love him, and I was really happy when he popped up. Yeah. So shout out to him.
He was great as dad.
I thought he did a good job, and I was like, they could definitely look like they were favored. So I think that was great casting.
It was.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of casting, the son was just, I don't know, like they did a great job casting the daughter, and I don't feel like I saw enough of the wife to understand the son. Because I'm looking at him and I'm like,
recessive traits.
You know, he reminded me of Michael Threets.
If the son had been, say, maybe 5, and then the doctor, and like maybe that's why they have this weird relationship, something along those lines. Maybe that would have, but I think that was something they started to go one way, and it just like it didn't work. They scratched it out of the whiteboard, but forgot to change the casting or something.
I think that's just white people
being
casting black people.
Being comfortable.
Yeah,
it's a lot of dark skinned people on this show. Wait a minute, like
there you go, black.
Because Chris Marshall's dark skinned, and I thought she was great as Nicole Robinson, Sterling K, and the daughter. All up like these were some dark skinned people.
Yeah, Aaliyah. I want to give credit to the daughter because she is a great actress.
Really
she's
good.
And I know she's a great actress because there were definitely points where, like, I was just so all right, protect her at all costs, and then moments where I was just like, "What the fuck is you doing? Sit down, don't leave. I told you to stay in the fucking bar. What the fuck?"
Right.
Yeah. You could have saved me a lot of trouble here. I would have just been able to walk in there and be like, "God, Sinatra," and she couldn't have said shit. I'd have been like, "Bong, you fucked up." But you have to leave the bar.
Yeah.
For
I don't know how I would have reacted if anything had happened to that baby. If Jane had done anything, I'd have been like, if we don't string Jane up by her toes.
That's just too evil for 8 episodes. You need you gotta have a 20 season, a 20 show season before you can do something that evil. Make us kill.
But see, that's also one of those things where it tells us that like Jane is the wild card.
Oh yeah.
Right.
because
Right, because I was terrified. I really was.
she'll
When
like
she was like, "Come with me," I was like, "Oh
a
no."
hitter would take out a hitter, but won't take out the kid because she loves the kid, even though she knows that her boyfriend hit her, loved the kid. Jane got a lot happening in her head. You know what I'm saying? And it's like her moral compass is all over the place. And
But I wasn't
that's
scared. I was just mad.
right. You
I
know,
was like,
it's
you
like,
better leave that girl alone. You better
Okay.
not touch a hair
Well,
in her braids.
I also think though
Somebody
it goes
said they
back to
had
what.
the world's best braider down there.
Yeah,
Like
I
there's
thought about that. I was like, okay, now who they got in paradise doing braids?
because I was like,
Okay.
oh
that was
girl,
one of the people
good
Sarah Shahi
blowout.
picked.
Her little silk press was fresh
Sarah
AF.
Shahi
That's
was
what
like,
I
"Look,
said.
if we gonna
What
have
she
The
know
black
best
about
people,
picking a
braid
braider
Atlanta
though?
has.
Get this one.
man,
Get this one.
she went on
She
Yelp.
used to
She
work
did
at the
some
African
reviews.
store.
She bringing people in. She was like,
I
she
mean,
went
that
to
was
the
a good
shop.
braider too. That was a black person because she had the little cuffs and the braids and everything. That
Sarah
yeah,
oh yeah.
Shahi ethnic.
she's
She
ethnic,
know.
Yeah.
but come on.
She knew she had to keep. She's like, look,
Sterling
we
K.
got
Brown
black
had a shape up.
residences here.
He
This
did.
It was like we
They
gotta have a black. We gotta have
okay.
some
they had
black
a
people to
black
cut some
beauty and
hair
barber
down here.
shop
They had the
All
in
committee
right.
going
paradise.
through it. Be like,
We
hold up. So
need
why do you want to bring this lady
bundles.
here?
I said that too. I was like,
Bundles
they
on
they got a
bundles on
beauty supply
bundles.
store in paradise
I
because
mean, if
they got
they got $1 million McAllen down there, you know what I'm saying? Like all them thousands of bottles of $1,000 liquor.
Right,
I'm
you
sure
got
they
some
got
T
all of the
liners.
best bundles.
I know you got some T outliners. They're good. Shit.
Got all of the best bundles.
Some
Well, all
magic
right,
And if
folks,
shade,
not,
a
let's
couple of bottles of
They had
magic
some
shade.
Indian people down there.
this is
Probably Sarah
true.
Shahi hair. That's probably how she knew. She went in there, cut it off. Like, what can y'all do with this? Like, I got you, girl.
All right, let's wrap here.
Like this
Let's
braids
wrap.
is fresh.
Like, nice bob, Sarah. Nice braids, Keisha. How'd that happen?
Right. I mean, you know, Nicole went from having long hair when she was in the White House. She done got her nice little trim and got her little bob going on. So obviously somebody know how to do ethnic hair down there, and they
Telling
made
you.
some good selections. Okay, well, I think it's safe to say that this was a very enjoyable 2025 series on Hulu, Paradise season 1. Brandon, you say it has been confirmed for season 2,
That's what they
so
say.
we will look out for season 2 of Paradise. Join us everywhere you can find us. We are GrownAGeeks. You can join our Facebook group. Make sure to like and subscribe. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. For RG, Brandy, Teresa, Jeffrey, I'm LD Geek Sam, and we are out of here. Peace.